is not good. Since the fiscal year began in July, general fund revenues have been down each month, year over year. Mr. Kennedy also says in his 16 years in office, he's not seen collections and revenue drop so steeply on an annual comparison basis. Voters are very skeptical right now that the amount of money we need to fix our budget problems is so large that simply eliminating tax credits is not going to be enough. So either one of you gentlemen who win the election is going to be under tremendous pressure to generate new revenues. So this is a yes or no question for you first, Mr. Evans. Will you raise taxes on individuals or businesses?
No.
You will not. Well, where's the money going to come from?
So we're going to squeeze as much cost savings as possible out of the way we deliver services in the state of Louisiana. We're going to look for efficiencies everywhere we can find. We're going to make sure we expand the flexibility so that we can allocate cuts across a broader spectrum of the budget and not have to be confined by the statutory and constitutional dedication. We're going to make sure we don't get funding in a way that produces net new revenue. We're also going to make sure we accept our federal tax dollars back when they help us meet our obligation to our people to save us money. And we will focus on those tax giveaways, those tax credits, those tax exemptions, those tax reductions that cost too much money and don't produce enough return on investment. We will reduce those, create savings, and reallocate those savings to higher priority items like health care and higher education, which typically suffers 80% of whatever budget cuts we have out there. That's the responsible way to go forward. We will do that in Louisiana. You know, I believe that the best way to raise revenue is not by raising tax rates, it's by growing the economy. And that's what I will do for our next budget.
Kennedy's analysis very much. He has a lot of background in this area. I'm also very humbled and honored that he's strongly supporting my candidacy. There again, on this issue, John Bell is saying one thing in the campaign.
But is the answer yes or no? I will leave you early.
I'm not raising tax rates, and I never have. John Bell says it, but he has over and over and over again raising business taxes, raising all sorts of taxes, $2.3 billion this year. Why do you think he's earned those F's from small businesses? I'm going to start with real budget reform and on the spending side. And this is a fundamental difference between us. I'll take a balanced approach, but I'll start with budget reform and on the spending side by undedicating those other areas of the budget that are off limits now. And John Bell has adopted that position after I laid it out in this campaign. The problem is, he's been in the legislature 8 years. He never offered a bill to do that. He never offered a bill to cut anything out of the state budget. 8 years and no leadership on that whatsoever. I mean, it's yet another classic example of Johnny Bell come lately.
I called upon David Bitter to apologize to Jay Garden and to Scott Angel. The fact of the matter you think everything up there, your numbers aren't even the same this week as they were last week. I have not voted for tax increases for businesses. I have voted to reduce the tax giveaways. That is my record. I said it here tonight, and I will say it again. That is my record. I have not supported tax increases on businesses, and my position is not to do that as our next goal.
Thank you, Mr. Rivers. 15 minutes.
Numbers in the 20s from all of the leading small business groups. That's his record. It doesn't happen by accident. My record is the opposite, which is why I'm strongly supported by small business groups, because of my work on the Senate Small Business Committee, standing up for job creation.
With less than 3 months until a potential special session, which both of you have said we need in order to solve our financial problems, you both released a general outlines of your financial plan. So, will you pledge to publicly release the specifics of your financial plan prior to the special session for all to review? And will you have town hall meetings across the state to build support for your plan? Senator Bitter?
Well, absolutely, Jackie. I've put exactly that in writing months ago. My whole campaign is built on a strong, detailed plan about how we're going to address all of our key challenges in Louisiana. It's called Together Louisiana Strong. It's at davidbitter.com. That plan is far more detailed than any other candidate in this race, including John Bell. And also in the plan is a whole chapter on keeping in touch. And I said I'll continue to do what I do as a U.S. Senator, going around the state relentlessly, having open town hall meetings, every parish in the state, reaching out to folks of all walks of life, and really listening. That's how I've always grounded my public service. That's how we developed this detailed plan Together Louisiana Strong. That's how we're going to lead Louisiana in the right direction. And all of that is specifically laid out, including that very open, transparent process.
Senator Bitter, we have a copy of your plan, and it's pretty general, so this isn't
John Bell's plan. It's 12 chapters and hundreds of bullet points, and there's nothing comfortable on the part of the
I'm just asking for a specific plan. Would you release a more specific plan before a special session so that voters and the public can weigh in on it?
Let me repeat it. My clear answer was yes. So I'll repeat it. My clear answer is yes. But that plan before you is far more detailed, far more specific than anything John Bell Edwards has ever produced. I don't know, certainly in time to engender the public debate we need to pass that plan. Jackie, I'm going to release it to the public for a simple reason. I need the support of the public to get on my side to push these tough reforms through the legislature. It's not going to be easy, and we're not going to accept the Baton Rouge status quo. We're going to do and we can only do that with the strength and support of the public behind me in those efforts, and we're going to have it, we're going to earn it.
Thank you very much.
Yeah.
Prior to a special session.
Yes, and in fact, you have to, and we didn't call it a special session. As governor, I will call the legislature in a special session twice in the month of February. Once to deal with the now $500 million shortfall in the current fiscal year, and then again to deal with the remaining shortfall that we will have for the year starting July 1st of 2016. And I agree with the senator, it's going to be a tough task. That's why we have to elect a governor who has a proven record and ability of working with people of both parties, bringing them together, forging consensus so we can tackle this challenge and restore opportunity to the people of Louisiana. That will be my #1 priority. Yes, I will release the call. It will have the details in it, and we will have town hall meetings all around the state to build support for that approach so that people can let their legislators know that they agree with the fundamental decisions that we will have made as an administration to move our state forward with these tough reforms.
Special session is not specific at all. It's the parameters, it's the boundaries of the session. I'll release a detailed plan building on the plan we have now Together Louisiana Strong.
These next two questions are individual questions. Senator Bitter, we'd like to begin with you in a very difficult topic. The allegations of prostitution have come to the forefront in the campaign for the past several weeks. You said you've been together by your family and you're looking to the future. However, we'd like to ask you a couple of specific questions about a political ad your opponent has released. Documents show that minutes after you missed a vote on the House floor for a bill supporting soldiers killed in Iraq, your cell phone took a call from the D.C. Madam, Deborah Jean. We're over it! Why did you miss that vote? Did you take that call? What was the purpose?
I've spoken about this directly with the people of Louisiana for some time. I humbly apologize to them directly, and just as importantly, I committed to rebuild their trust by working hard every day. And I'm trying my heck to do that. I've tried to re-earn that trust, and I'm hopeful that I'm on that path based on the vote of confidence they placed in me in my Senate election, re-election. Now, look, Jackie, I know that answer is not good enough for my political opponents. I know it's not good enough for the gotcha media who wants to make headlines, wants to make everybody understands the circumstances of that part of my life 15 years ago. So if that's not good enough for you, I'm sorry. It is good enough for Wendy. It is good enough for our family. And as I travel the state, I have town halls in every parish of the state. Voters come up with me with all sorts of real concerns and tough questions. And you know, Jackie, it's never that. It's about their satisfied with that answer.
With all due respect,
but that is my answer, as I'm completely focused on the future for the people.
With all due respect, sir, we commissioned a poll. It shows that the people of Louisiana are not ready to move on. According to the poll,
I'm speaking on television directly to those people right now. I've explained to them how I've worked hard to earn the redemption from that low point in my life. And that life, in my experience, isn't just about your falls, but the good news is it's more importantly how you get up, how you learn from forgiveness. The good news is something people all around Louisiana can relate to. Maybe not on the level I had to experience it, but they appreciate it, they relate to it. They tell me that every day in terms of my service.
Well, look, the simple fact of the matter is we're all obligated as Christians to forgive. That doesn't mean we have to forget. And there certainly is no obligation to vote this man who commits a crime and refuses to talk about it and refuses to answer any questions. He has never answered the votes are cast or not cast, and we have cell phone records showing when phone calls were accepted.
John, let me just say thank you for those kind words. It's great to see your faith in God.
Your opponent here tonight says that you're going to be beholden to special interests. A super PAC supporting your efforts has taken hundreds of thousands of dollars from unions. And in just the last week, lawyers have donated more than $465,000 to you. The business community is suspect about your true intentions as governor. When it comes time to make difficult decisions on issues that often pit unions against business interests, where will your loyalties lie?
First of all, my loyalties will always be with the people of Louisiana. You just mentioned from lawyers. I have lawyers who work at defense firms as well as plaintiffs firms who support me. And by the way, the amount of money that you showed on the screen is a significant amount of money. But the fact of the matter is I've raised over $5 million since October the 24th. From people all over the state. 96% of the money comes from the state of Louisiana. It's most of it in very, very small amounts. It's a grassroots effort. Those are the people I'm going to be beholden to. No special interest at all. Now, I happen to be very proud of the law work that I do in my hometown of Louisiana, Louisiana, where I have a country practice. Working with small businesses, both as plaintiffs and defendants, doing wills and successions and contract work. I do lots of work, and I'm very proud of the work that I do as a lawyer. I'm very proud to have their support. But the support comes from people all over the state of Louisiana, and that's who I'll be committed to.
Thank you. Dues for public paychecks. You said you're for it. That shows a clear difference between you and Senator Vitter, which gives unions incentives to donate to your campaign. Isn't that reasonable to assume?
Well, first of all, I'm assuming that people will donate to the candidate that they prefer. I believe that people who make a living and have a paycheck can voluntarily choose to join a union if they want to, and separately, if they do, choose to have their union dues deducted. It is at no cost to the state or local government, and we have never had any local government entity come to the legislature and ask us to end that practice. So I do not agree with the approach that would say by law that they are not allowed to have union dues deducted from their paychecks.
The John Bell Edwards campaign is a three-legged stool. First, the trial lawyers, huge amounts of money to protect abusive lawsuits that are killing Louisiana jobs, particularly in the energy industry. Second, unions want to bring us back to the bad old days when unions dominated Louisiana politics. And third, public education unions want to turn the clock back on reforms like education choice, charter schools.
You're all about a cold problem.
John Bell Edwards has opposed all of that on behalf of those unions. We can't afford to go back.
So, yes.
To be a lawyer. In fact, he's not a lawyer. He surrendered his law license rather than answer questions, not about a sin, but about a crime.
Financial challenges facing you next year will be how to continue to fund the TOPS program. The cost of TOPS has spiked 142% during the last 7 years. Each year is becoming more difficult to fund the program. However, we found there's already a plan in place no one's talking about to cut down the number of students who can take advantage of the program to ready those costs. It states in the event of a shortfall, applicants who do not submit the federal financial aid form and have the lowest ACT scores will be the first to be eliminated from the program. So far, no one's used it. Senator Bitter, will you work to enforce this statute to control spending?
No, I'm going to work to make sure we never put that statute into place. I'm going to work to preserve TOPS so it's there for all students who are relying on it. And they rely on it now more than ever because of all of the tuition and cost increases in Louisiana public higher ed. By the way, John Bell Edwards helped create that. He always rails against Bobby Jindal. John Bell supported 5 out of 8 Jindal budgets. 5 out of 8. Cut $330 million out of Louisiana higher education. That's what we need to correct and end that debt 5,000 cuts. So to preserve costs, I believe in common sense reforms as passed the legislature this past year. Governor Jindal vetoed those. I would sign them into law to preserve costs for well into the future. We have to stop debt 5,000 cuts in higher education. That's the top immediate reason we have to stabilize the budget with strong, balanced leadership on both the spending side and the tax side.
What you're referring to in the legislature, Senate Bill 48, I believe it was, where they put a cap on the program.
Correct.
So that's what you would cap the program, is what you're saying then.
At its present level, in other words, it could not grow exponentially in the future. If we allow it to continue to grow, then the statute you cited will inevitably kick in, and it will really harm a lot of students in the program.